Welcome to Soul Sync.
Do you want to start?
Welcome to Soul Sync, bitches.
Hello, queens and kings,
Welcome to another week.
and another episode from your spiritual besties over here.
Girl, we got some goodies today. We're going to share some personal experiences, some of
Mm.
our knowledge on what we went through with breath work. Sami, what are we talking about?
Yeah, so today we're going to be diving into breath work. I actually had my first experience this weekend. I've done it before where it was like 7 minutes, 10 minutes with my mentor, Michaela. However, this time in Palm Springs, we had an actual breath work instructor come in, and it was the most magical experience ever. When Taylor and I were like dilly-dallying on what topic we wanted to talk about today, was the first one that came to my mind, and I was like, yes, we need to tell them about the power of breath work.
Mhm. Yeah, it was so like it was your intuition just like kicked in. With certain topics, I feel like that just happens for us. Like it just comes to us and it's like this is what you're gonna touch on and you don't have a choice. But this was perfect because we both had such a breakthrough experience with it, I feel like. And we learned how powerful it can really be, like even our first experience, like so I'm excited to like do it more in the future and to tell everyone what we went through.
Girl, so am I, because I don't even know if I knew what your experience was in Costa Rica. And I know I haven't told you much of mine yet either. So we're going to be both finding out what that like first experience looks like. But I think what's really important is to talk about the fact that like everybody's experience with breath work is going to be very different. And I think it's going to be different each and every time because, when it comes to breath work, I feel like the easiest way, at least I understand it, is that it allowed me to like uncover what I didn't even know was there. So, like, oftentimes you might go through traumatic things or something that's really painful, and you'll think mentally you've overcame it, right? You'll be able to hear that person's name and you're still going to be able to go through your everyday life. However, when you think of them or when you think about a situation that happened, you might still feel just like pain in your heart. And that's the thing that I believe breath work helps you release is those stuck, pent up emotions and traumas so that you can just get it up and out of your body once and for all. And trust me, you're going to know exactly what I mean when you do your first round of it.
Oh my God. Yes. It's really like a strap in, like you have to surrender to it, like just trust the process type of thing. And I think it's really beautiful, like as you were talking about like all of the stuck trauma that we have and that we hold in our bodies, like it made me think of all the other modalities that do such similar things. So I thought of Reiki too, like instantly. Like that's to move the energy, like stuck energy and get it moving, but also on like a more physical level, massage therapy. Like I thought of like trigger points, like it's our muscles like hold on to like these traumas. So like we capture them in our bodies, in our physical bodies, our energetic bodies, our spiritual bodies. Like when we don't release things properly, they're still with us every day. And sometimes we don't feel it and it doesn't feel heavy until it is. And then you're like, oh my God, what is going on? Like things aren't, balanced in myself. And then you kind of think back and you're like, okay, well, what could this be from? And then you can kind of like, but it was just really interesting because it's like there are a lot of different ways to release and to move energy through your body.
Mhm.
And with this, emotions come up. People have had a lot of breakthroughs with breath work. I feel like you did, right? Did you get emotional?
Oh my God, I was sobbing like the whole time.
Oh my God. I can't wait to hear it. Like, should we just jump right into our experience?
Yeah. All right. I feel like we gave you guys a very basic explanation. And if you guys want us to touch on it a little bit more of like deep diving into the actual like benefits, the pros, we never think in cons. We don't believe in bad. But if you want us to deep dive into that more, we like absolutely can. But yeah. So do you want to go first or do you want me to go first, Taylor?
You can go first, girl. You got the floor.
Okay, okay. So This was an epic experience for me. When we first started, Gwen had come in and I should have fangirled, okay? Like, I have listened to my coach, Michaela, since I was 19. So it's going on 6 years now. And when I met her best friend, Caleb, I totally fangirled. Oh my God, because we've heard him in so many podcasts and he was just such amazing light and energy as he was in person. But the breathwork person turned out to be somebody I follow on Instagram because I've listened to her from Michaela's podcast. And it turned out to be the exact breathwork person that Michaela uses when she lived in LA. So I literally knew her like all this time. I've watched her stuff. I've done one or two of her breathworks, but I never actually like got into it. It was something I actually really struggled with before this one time. But she came in and she was just such a ray of sunshine. Like, when you first meet an instructor, kind of like Mark, and they just have the biggest smile and their energy is just lighting up the whole room. That was Gwen. Okay. She was incredible. So I automatically felt really safe. Now, my intention going into it, at least what I thought was going to be my intention, was I wanted to connect to myself. I've been going through a lot of things spiritually, in terms of just figuring out like who truly spiritually I am, finally connecting and sharing that with everybody in my life. I don't give a fuck who you are. I'm going to just talk as if I would talk every single day. And I'm not dimming that anymore. And I'm showing it on my social media. I'm showing it with my clients. So for me, I was like, I really want to connect to my energy in that way, like in the highest vibrational way, to my like deepest soul, my higher self. I wanted that like undeniable connection. And when I pulled up the card, I got two different cards. So I got the beaver, and I honestly forget what both of them meant, but I think it's because I related to the other card a little more. And the second card, it had popped up when I was like shuffling, but it was just the card like on top. I just kind of like saw it by accident. It was an eagle. And then when I pulled my first card, Gwen goes, "You should look at the bottom. That eagle really wants you." And I literally turned the card around and it was the eagle. So it was a synchronicity because Tom and I have seen bald eagles like all the time when we walk Nala around the ponds. And apparently they're almost extinct. They're very like rare to see. And we've seen three different ones. So when the eagle came up, I was like, okay, I guess I really have to like look at things from a bird's eye point of view. And that's exactly what happened when I did the breath work. I started, and the way we did it was we did it all through our mouth, and we did an inhale, so to our belly, then to our chest, and then exhale out. So it was like belly, chest, exhale. And at first, I saw myself as a kid. It brought me back to like baby Sammy. And in my household, there was just a lot going on. We were dealing with a lot of pain. My biological father had like walked out when I was a kid, and it really hurt my mom and my brother so much. And my stepdad came into our lives and he was amazing, but I'm not sure there was much healing that had like went along around that topic. And I realized that from a very, very young age, I was spiritual. Okay. I was seeing things that people in my life didn't believe I was seeing, or they didn't understand how to handle that, how to support that at the time. I was hearing things. I was so emotional. I remember everybody used to call me sensitive Sammy because I was so emotional. And I realized during this breath work that I was spiritual. I was an empath. I was a light worker. I was very clairvoyant. I could see things. I had visions, I had dreams. And I realized that I was dimming myself down very fastly over time. It happened super fast. When I thought about what age I was, it was younger than 5 that like I had learned that I needed to dim my light in order to like protect myself a little bit more and protect my energy. And I feel like I released so much just kind of like confusion and resentment that I had held from those scenarios. it felt like I was having panic attacks all over again because I used to have panic attack in high school, and it was always around my throat. It was always like I couldn't breathe. Something was coming up. I'd be worried I was going to throw up, but I never did throw up, but it felt like something was like clogging my throat as if they were like holding on to it for dear life. And when I struggled with this anxiety, people in my life told me, no, like it's just in your head, you know? And it made me feel crazy. For so long of my life, I just felt crazy. I felt so misunderstood. And when I was going through the breath work and I was having that realization of like, wait, I'm back to where I was having panic attacks, it basically felt like those panic attacks were from me holding back my truth for so long. And it was
Wow.
from me not being able to share my voice for so long. And I realized that that was my body's way of releasing all along. I had no good coping mechanisms. I didn't want to be sensitive, Sammy. So I tried holding myself back, holding my tears back until I would hysterically cry and completely freak out, you know? So it kind of taught me that those were my body's ways of kind of protecting me in a really weird, twisted, like, what the fuck? Why did I have to go through that kind of way? It was my body's way of just releasing all these things that I was penting up that I didn't realize was hurting me all along. So this breath work brought back shit from my little childhood self, things that I didn't even necessarily remember. But after I got through that point, I literally could feel all the vibrations in the room. Like it was absolutely insane. I've never felt so much energy in my body, around my body. It was like I was just surrounded by like these high vibrational goodness. I don't even know how to describe it, but like I'm like shaking because it was like a good way. And I think those are what my panic attacks used to be. It was like I could feel all this energy, I could feel people's emotions. I could feel my own that I wasn't dealing with. And now that I like released that, it was like I can finally just fucking be. And just being, I was able to feel everything around me and not have it overwhelm me, but have it light me up and have it just give me so much power. So I cried the entire fucking time. It was an amazing experience. It was so hard too, you know? Like it's hard facing these things. And I want to say like that's okay. It's not always going to be easy, but yeah, that was my first round of breath work.
Oh my God.
It was so insane.
That is like the wildest, most beautiful story I've ever heard of like release. Yeah. And you really had a breakthrough.
Yeah.
Like, that's huge.
I know. And like you know better than anybody like these things that I'm talking about of like those old beliefs and those old feelings that I needed to release or the things that I had went through that really hurt me and really challenged me throughout my childhood and throughout life. So being able to face those things, I feel like when we're our age, right? We're in our like mid to late 20s. That's when you finally start to do the healing of things that you suppressed as a kid. And this is even if you had an amazing childhood. Like I really want to preface that like I love my parents so much and I know they love me so much. But even if you had an amazing childhood, there's still things that happen that can be traumatic. Like yesterday at the fucking dog park, a 2-year-old is crying because the dog stole its ball multiple times. And he's like, Maggie! And he's hysterically crying. And me and Tom are laughing because we're like, oh, like, you know, he's low key getting traumatized that like the universe takes things from it. Every time he gets the ball, the dog took it right away. So it's like even little things like that, like just as kids, you never know how you're going to handle things. Or like we're talking about with this breath work, you don't know where it's going to be stuck in your body and you don't really know why. It could be anything. But that's why it's our responsibility to do these type of rituals and get it the fuck out. Because I went into this with the intention that I was just going to feel fucking amazing and I was going to feel happy and I was going to connect to my higher self. And like I went in there with all these good vibes and it low key started really dark for me. And then it got light and then I got to feel those things. But I had to release all those things that I didn't even know was there first.
Holy fuck.
Mhm.
And a huge part of that is even finding out what those things are.
Yes.
Like, that's not an easy thing either. It's like, what is it that I'm suppressing or have been suppressing for years and just never got to bring up and bring to light, you
Mhm.
know? Like, starting a healing journey, it's like you want to instantly know, like, all these things that you haven't felt so you could just, like, deal with them head on. Because now, like, as a little kid, when you're younger, you don't know how to handle any of these feelings. So, like,
Mhm.
I feel like our natural instinct is to just squish them down and to just be like, okay, well, I don't know what's going on. People around me don't know what's wrong with me. You know what I mean? So let me
Mhm.
just like tuck it deep down and like deal with that never. But like going through your spiritual journey, it's like that is a big deal. Just even finding out what comes up for you during these like breath work, during meditation things. And I think that in itself is so powerful because, and that's why I love shadow work so much. Oh my God. Like sometimes just sitting with the dark and just seeing what comes up, you know, seeing what comes out of the darkness. And you're just like, you learn so much about yourself and about your past and about like subconscious things that you haven't really paid much attention to in the longest time. And it makes so much sense. Like, if you are struggling with anxiety still, or you are struggling with depression or something like that, like, you can connect the dots. And
Mhm.
it's like, if you focus your energy on the root of the problem, which is the childhood trauma, it's like, imagine what can be released now, like in the present time. It's like taking the shackles off, you know what I mean? So, holy shit, that was such an amazing experience for you. Like, I'm just so blown away. I didn't know, like, to this depth that it would be like that groundbreaking for you, but I feel like that was like the most beautiful first experience with breathwork that you could have had. So I'm so happy to hear that.
Thank you, girl. I was so nervous. Like, literally, when we were pulling the card and we had to say our intention, I was already crying. Like, I couldn't even, I was so nervous. And, it's crazy that I did go back and experience past panic attacks because I was starting to feel those ways before I even started the breath work. And I told her that I was like, well, originally I came here because I really wanted to connect with my higher self and I really wanted to learn more about my gifts. They've been coming up. They really scare me as I'm not that comfortable with like seeing things as often and frequently as I am, but I want to face it. I want to overcome it. And I said, I was like, I know these are just childhood fears. I've always been afraid of seeing ghosts my whole life, like whole life. So I was like, the fact that I'm seeing things so frequently, I just need to face it and I need to overcome it. And that's really what I wanted with the breath work. But I think it was so interesting because I was already having those signs. Like my throat was already closing up and I was telling her that. And I think it really just brought it back to like the first time I had really ever seen something, and I was so young. And it's crazy because they say that kids come into this life and they're like open vessels, right? They're just like, I'm open, I'm full of light, I'm full of love. And it's very common for kids to see things, but I guess for me, I was always really concerned that I was crazy, quote unquote, and I always blamed myself. And those were the things that I needed to release, and that was the things that I did release through this breath work. So I was able to like come home, and I'm so grateful for Tom because he's been so supportive of my journey, like my entire like experience dating him. But I came home and I was like, okay, I'm ready. Like I finally feel ready. I finally feel open. Like one of the reasons we want to move to Austin so badly, or I do, is because they have breathwork classes, they have yoga classes, and I'm gonna fully be surrounded by people that think, breathe, and live and love these ideas like 24/7. So I'm finally ready for that. And I needed to release all of those like pent up just feelings in order to do that.
Fuck yeah. Oh my God. Fuck yeah, girl. And so it is. We're
And so
releasing.
it is. I know. I'm excited to hear about yours now that I just like kind of unraveled all of my deepest secrets.
That was like so amazing. It's funny that you had an experience with your inner child because so did I.
No way.
Where so my two friends from school, this was in Costa Rica. My two friends were like, we're doing a breathwork class right after school today. So if you want to join, like whatever. It was a super like spur of the moment type thing. And they're like, oh yeah, you need a pillow, you need a blanket, you need eye mask, you need this is I'm like, oh, okay, like whatever. I just showed up with nothing. And I'm like, I'm just here to do it. Like, I'll try it. It was this lady that moved from the United States to Costa Rica to kind of follow like a similar passion, like energy work and like influencing others and wanting to live like a more holistic life. So instantly I connected with the instructor and I was like, I want to be you when I grow up. Like, this is amazing. Like, she was an older lady, you know. Um, so it was all like good vibes starting off. I really did not know what I was getting myself into at all. I kind of just thought it would be more of like meditative breathing in a way of like you're just really calm and you're just like just listening to your breath and doing like the 4 count, like whatever. No, okay. It was not like that at all. This was like a somatic breathing, but it was intense. Like, I don't know if yours was like that too. Yeah, okay. So
For
we
sure.
didn't start with pulling a card. I really like that you guys did that though. And I feel like I might incorporate that the next time I do breath work. Like, even if it's by myself, like if I listen to like a YouTube or something, definitely gonna pull a card beforehand. Um, but when we sat down and she was giving us like the rundown and kind of like putting good vibes into everything, we all introduced ourselves, you know, like went around the circle. She was telling us how the theme of this breath work was inner child. And she was like, this is going to be our intention. And it was just like random. And I was like, okay, like I want to meet that bitch. You know, I got stuff to say to her. I got questions for her. Um, no, so I was just like thrown into that in the same way. Um, and when it started off, it was like more meditative and slow. And then she had like the drum too, like how me and Sammy do the, what is it, a Tibetan drum or what is that called? The drumming?
I just call it a drum.
Okay.
I got no idea. I have two different ones. I have one that Mark had gotten me, and it's like the big drum. So that's the one that we've done a lot of our rituals. But then when I was coming back from Costa Rica, actually, I got like one of those like drums that like it sits on the floor and then you can like drum it with like two hands. Yeah, I got one of
Oh,
those
yes.
too.
Oh, I love those. I think she had the first one, like the little one that we
Okay.
do.
Mm-hmm.
So she was going around doing that, and she was doing that to the beat of how we should be inhaling and exhaling. So it was really nice to have like that guidance. But when she fucking sped up, I swear at one point it was like boom, 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 boom. So just to give you like, you know, so like you're low key like hyperventilating. And come to find out, that's literally what this is. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's to get you like your blood so oxygenated and your whole body to just like a certain point where you kind of like leave your body almost. And with me, like I had a similar experience with past anxiety and panic attacks because I had the exact same thing when I was younger. Girl, I know when you were explaining yours, I was like, this sounds like my experience. Like, that's kind of crazy.
That's so weird because I we've definitely talked about our anxieties multiple times together, but I didn't realize it was like so like that.
Yeah, and it brought that up for me too. And what
Oh,
I came to was I was instantly back in school, and that's where I had like most of my panic attacks were like in school. And it was
same.
because, and yeah, and now I'm realizing it was because I've always been such an empath and like feeling everyone's energy all the time. And it's just was always suffocating me, and I never knew what it was. And the whole time it was like anxiety, and it was the same thing. Like I just fucking couldn't breathe, and it was like a chokehold on my neck, and it was like, oh. So instantly I went back to high school, like when I started to like lose myself a little bit in it. And it was such a switch of the moment of like, okay, is this going to be a feeling of anxiety and just like terror and discomfort? Or am I just going to like surrender to this and like have it take me? You know what I mean? Like, it's my breath, you know, like I trust that like it's going to take me where it needs to take me. It's going to show me whatever. So in that moment, I just decided to lose complete control over everything, which is something I could never do as a child with anxiety
Mhm.
and panic attacks because that's like the whole premise of it. You know what I mean? Like you want to control, like you want to feel better, you want to breathe, you want to like not whatever. So that in itself I feel like was really healing because it taught me surrender and it jump started that whole healing of like what I really need to focus on is like the whole control aspect of things in my life. And that is where it started. So that was amazing. But then after that, it was the same thing I went right to when I was 5 years old. And it wasn't so much this was like a wild thing. It wasn't so much of like me being 5, it was me looking at 5-year-old me. So, it was like a surreal, like, trip almost. Like, it felt like a lucid dream. Like, I was
Mhm.
literally looking at my 5-year-old self and, like, talking to her and being like, "Are you okay? Like, what can I do for you? What do you need?" Like, whatever. And she was just so cute and innocent. She was just like
Aw.
looking up at me with these like big blue eyes. And she was like, "I'm fine. Like, it's okay." And I was like, "Girl, you're not fine." Like,
Mhm.
sis. And then I just gave her like a really big hug. And like while I was hugging her, I just felt everything just like drain out of me. And it was like the most intense, but like relaxing and just needed like release that I've ever felt. And meanwhile, like my I don't know if you felt like an out of body experience with it. Like I kind of felt like I was just not even in my body, but after that, I felt my physical body again. I started like feeling my fingers and feeling my hands and I was like, "Oh my god, what the fuck is going on?" So I was like in and out of consciousness kind of.
Mhm.
Um it was all around my inner child and kind of like healing that. And I now having this conversation, I think it'd be interesting to go back to that and set the same intention and see like what else I can heal because I know there's more. There's
Always.
endless inner child healing, I feel like. But just like the same thing with you, like being misunderstood and like people not understanding why you're feeling a certain way and you feel
Mhm.
like you're crazy and you feel like there's everything wrong with you, it's like you just have to suppress it, you know? Like if the world is telling you you're wrong, what are you gonna do? You're 5 years old, like, you don't know any better, you know? Even as a 10-year-old,
Mhm.
15-year-old, like, no one prepares you for this shit,
Yeah.
especially in the spiritual sense, because a lot of people in my life I feel like no one really was educated on any of that, anything energetic. There was no name for it. It was just anxiety. It was like, okay, you have anxiety, maybe you have depression, maybe you have this, maybe you have that. And it's like, what the fuck? Like,
Mhm.
which I mean is something really exciting for me because now that I know all about it, and I know same with you, and once we have children, it's like I will never like I will educate them
Yeah.
on like you're not crazy. There are so many other moving parts to your life and your energetic self and your spiritual self. And it's like to be there for younger them so that they don't have to go through those feelings and they don't have to have these like releases and inner child bullshit.
Mhm.
But it's like, no one knew any better, so you can't really blame anything or anyone. But I'm really happy that we both had a similar experience because, girl, anxiety's a bitch.
Mhm. I know that's fucking crazy. Like cray, especially because I started this with, oh, neither one of us know what happened to the other.
I know. Oh my god, like, when you were talking, I was like, "There's no way she just said that." Like, she's not
Especially
gonna believe me, this is crazy.
I know, especially just because I always tell Taylor, I feel like I'm like a younger her. We go through so many things together, or we've had just so many experiences in the past that line up. It's always so crazy to continue to see our synchronicities of the things that we've both experienced that we've had to overcome because my anxiety felt like something that no one understood as deeply as I tried to explain what I was going through. There was no one that could just understand. So I really took that approach of like, this is my fault. I'm the one causing problems. I'm the one causing my own pain. And I think one thing that it really allowed me to release throughout this breath work was this whole idea that I had built up over quite some time of like happiness is hard, of accomplishing my goals has to be hard, and not in a way of like I can't accomplish them, but in a way of I have to go through massive healing and massive up levels, and I have to overcome all these obstacles just to get there, because that's what it felt like with my anxiety. It felt like I had to overcome all of those emotions just to feel the peace of not feeling it anymore. And I used to say like I felt like I dealt with it 24/7. And after hearing what you said about being an empath, I remember in high school, I used to freak out. And it was always like the first or second class period or the last one. Like I'd get through the whole day and then I just tap out and be like, I can't, I'm freaking the fuck out. And I never thought that it could be feeling the emotions of all the other people around. Because think about how many people you come into contact in like middle school, elementary school, high school, like it's dozens and dozens of people who are all going through their own journey and all having their own emotions.
Mhm. Yeah, it's something, like, you would never take into account,
Mhm.
really, but, like, growing up, they say one of the biggest things is just unlearning things, like, unlearning things that you're just, like, subconsciously were like, squished into your head as a kid, and like you said, like, just being misunderstood and thinking that happiness is hard and it's hard work, like, that's something that even our parents can, without realizing, be teaching us, like,
Totally.
just from, like, watching them, and that was something for me too, is, like, watching my parents struggle so hard just to, like, get by with, like, bills and money and stuff like that taught me so much lack in finances and being like, "Okay, having a job is really hard and getting money is really hard, but you have to do it." Like, it's gonna suck, and it's like, "No, what?"
Mhm.
That fucking limiting belief is, like, edged in my brain now. And when you finally get out of that and you're able to just like see a whole world above it, put no limits on anything. There are no limits except for the ones that you know, put on yourself. So take the shackles off,
Mhm.
baby. We're taking all these limits off. Anything we were taught when we were younger, or anything that, people didn't even realize they were teaching us that really affected us our whole lives. No more.
Mhm. And I think breath work is just such a good way that if you're kind of like me and you didn't even realize what specifically necessarily was holding you back, but you knew it was something, you knew you felt a little something in you and you knew it needs to be released, like breath work is going to be amazing for you because it's not always going to be such like groundbreaking discoveries like Taylor and I had. Sometimes you are going to just have an amazing experience where, oh, and that's such a confirmation right there. But you're going to have an amazing experience where you do get into a meditative state and you feel fucking amazing and you talk to your higher self. Like it, and that's why I think when the instructor started with this can go so many different ways. And each time you do breath work, it's always going to be different because you never know what you have to uncover next that's going to help you in your journey. But like Taylor said, you are using your breath. And if you can trust anything in your life, you got to trust yourself. So I think the breath work is a really good way of practicing that. And I know that I came home and I told Tom, I'm doing that religiously. Like, I want to be doing it at least once a week, lay down the same way. You get the pillows, have it under your head, have a blanket over you, have an eye mask, listen to maybe some look up on YouTube, calming breath work music, something along those lines, and then continue with the breath work, right? You could do it yourself, you could do it to a guided breath work. There's so many different ways that you can do this. So find whatever works best for you, but this is going to be life changing. And I know once you do it, you're going to be just as hooked as we are.
Oh my god, fuck yeah. I love that. So true, like, try it out. Why not? Same with any healing modality, like, it could only help, it couldn't hurt you. And don't be afraid of your breath. It's very powerful. And just know that you can do anything with it. You can always return to it. Especially that's something I learned with panic attacks and anxiety too, is like your breath is everything. So try it out. Why not? If we, find a good breath work, we could totally put it in the show notes for you.
Mhm.
And girl, maybe next time I come visit, we could do one together. Like that would be amazing if you're
That
down.
would be so amazing. Gwen actually has like old lives that she has on her Instagram of breath work. So Michaela and Caleb do those a lot. So we could do one of those. That would be so fun.
So down for it.
All right, we'll keep y'all updated because she's coming in 1 month, 2 months, 2 months. End of May. End of May, she'll be here. So we'll be doing it very soon.
Hell yeah. We'll keep y'all updated.
Woo woo. All right, everyone. Well, that is what we have for you today. So I hope that you enjoyed. I hope that you got to know a little bit more about Taylor and I as we talked about our inner child, the breath work, our experiences. And I hope that this allowed you to realize that everything in your life really does happen for a reason. So if you are struggling right now, if you're feeling those anxiety, you're feeling these pent up emotions, just know that you will get through it. It happened for a reason at some point in your life. It came to protect you, but now you're ready to fucking release it. All right. So do your breath work, do your healing modalities. If you have any questions, you know where to find us. We have our Instagram account, Soul Sync. And then we also have our little ask us questionnaire. So if you have any questions, if you have anything that you want us to talk about, go ahead and fill that out because we're always open to new ideas. So, Taylor, where can they find you, boo?
Find me on Instagram at Taylor Babble. Where can they find you, girl?
You can find me on all platforms. It's going to be Sami Ruess. So SamiRuess. And on Instagram, there's an underscore right after.
Fuck yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, we'll see y'all next week.
Bye.
Bye. Love you.